Olamide Ali was based in Lagos. She was a graduate of the University of Lagos, and after completing her studies, she built something meaningful, the Pearl Women Development Academy. The work wasn't loud. It wasn't about aesthetics or social media performance. It was hands-on, practical work focused on helping young girls develop confidence, self-worth, and a healthier relationship with their bodies. Those who knew Olamide often described her the same way. She was calm, soft-spoken, someone who listened more than she spoke. She was also a mother. She had 2 sons, and much of her life centered around them: school routines, weekends, everyday structure, and making sure they were emotionally okay. Her online presence reflected that reality. You saw her children. You saw her community. You saw the women she worked alongside. Her story with Chris. Chris was not a new person in her life. They had been together since their university days, and he was the father of both her children. Their relationship was not linear. There were breakups, there were reconciliations, there were disagreements and attempts to rebuild. Despite everything, they kept finding their way back to each other. They did not share a home. Olamide lived with her family while Chris had his own place. Still, they functioned as a family unit. The boys spent time with their father. Plans were made. Conversations about the future continued. Engagements, plans, and private doubt. By 2020, they decided once again to formalize the relationship. A wedding date was fixed, and people close to them were aware that preparations were underway. Chris spoke openly about it and made tangible changes, including moving into a new home within a gated estate in Lekki, positioning himself for married life. From the outside, things appeared stable, but there had been earlier hesitation. In 2018, during a previous attempt to marry, Olamide recorded a voice note for someone she trusted. In that message, she expressed uncertainty about going through with the wedding. That was despite their long history, despite their children. That wedding did not take place, yet the relationship continued. 2 years later, wedding discussions resurfaced. The weekend everything ended. On Saturday, June 20th, 2020, Olamide took her 2 sons to spend the weekend with their father. A nanny accompanied them. Residents within the estate later stated that Olamide and Chris were seen that day and appeared normal. There were no visible signs of tension. That night, the children stayed in separate rooms with the nanny. Olamide went into Chris's bedroom. By the following day, Sunday 21st, loud music was heard playing from inside that room. Repeated knocks went unanswered. Concerned, the nanny contacted estate security. When the door was eventually forced open, both Olamide and Chris were found dead. What was found inside the room? Olamide was discovered tied to a chair. Her braids were scattered across the floor. A pair of pliers was found in the room, and images that later surfaced online made many to believe the pliers were used to forcibly remove her braids. She had sustained multiple stab wounds, including injuries to her eyes. Chris was also found on the bed. Foam was visible around his mouth, consistent with poison ingestion. Knives and 2 empty bottles of Sniper, a pesticide, were recovered from the scene. Police was contacted immediately, and both bodies were removed that same evening. In one moment, 2 young boys were left without either parent. Police findings and public speculation. Authorities confirmed the case as a murder followed by suicide. They verified the items recovered from the room but did not publicly disclose a motive. That silence created space, and the internet filled it quickly. A narrative began circulating online claiming that Chris had discovered through a DNA test conducted for visa purposes that one of the children was not biologically his. According to that version, this discovery allegedly triggered the attack. The story spread widely, but those close to Olamide disputed it. Friends, colleagues, and individuals speaking on behalf of the family stated there was no DNA test, no infidelity, and no hidden child. Two versions of the same story. At this point, public opinion divided. One group accepted the DNA narrative, another pointed to a different pattern. A Disney newspaper feature cited a source who alleged that prior to Olamide, Chris had violently attacked another woman he was in a relationship with in Port Harcourt. That woman reportedly survived and was relocated by her family for safety. This claim was never confirmed by law enforcement and therefore remains an allegation. The same source described Chris as unstable, with some using terms like bipolar, though no medical documentation has ever been made public. Those who view this account viewed the incident not as a sudden loss of control, but premeditated all along. The voice note that took on new meaning. After Olamide's death, the 2018 voice note resurfaced. In it, she spoke about uncertainty, about walking into a future that felt predetermined rather than chosen. Heard after the tragedy, those words carried a different weight altogether. The aftermath and what remains. While online debates continued, Olamide's family faced an unthinkable reality. 2 boys had lost both parents in a single day. Friends and women she had worked with mobilized support. A trust fund was created. Millions of naira was donated to help secure the children's future. Years later, the case is still discussed. There was no trial, no testimony, no final explanation. Chris died in that room, taking his version of the events with him. What remains are fragments, a voice note, conflicting narratives, a violent scene, and 2 children growing up with unanswered questions. People still ask, was it an isolated trigger or the end of a longer pattern? There are no definitive answers, but one thing is clear. Olamide Ali was more than the circumstances of her death. She was a mother, a woman building something meaningful, someone who had already voiced hesitation about the future she was stepping into. And regardless of what happened behind that closed door, she did not deserve that ending. The lesson. This story reminds us that history is not the same as safety, that familiarity can sometimes silence intuition, and that uncertainty is not weakness, it is information. It also brings us to look beyond dramatic endings and remember full lives, because quiet people, gentle people, and thoughtful people deserve to be remembered for how they lived and not how they died. If you have a true life story involving marriage, relationships, family, or a lived experience, and you want it told responsibly and with care, send your stories to YinkusPepe Talks at gmail.com. Your identity can be protected, details handled with discretion. Thank you for listening. If you value thoughtful storytelling that centers truth and humanity, stay connected and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, this is YinkusPepe.
Every story carries a lesson. If this one spoke to you, don't scroll past it. Like the video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to YinkusPepe Talks for more real-life stories that make you pause, think, and grow. And if you have a story worth telling, send it to us. You never know who your story might help. Until next time, this is YinkusPepe.